Hi, this is Susie, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make hats like these for preemies and for organizations like Hats-4-Hope. Hats-4-Hope is an organization that I started in 2008, and we make preemie hats for local neonatal intensive care units. Not only do they warm the heads of the babies, keep them warm after they are out of the incubator, they also kind of cheer up a very drab situation. Parents love picking them out and choosing their favorite colors, and it just kind of cheers up their day as well. So that we give these hats to hospitals locally, and so I'm going to teach you how to make these same hats. So first I'm going to show you some of the materials that we're going to make, and then I'll show you exactly how to do it. First of all, we make these hats on a loom. Looms normally look like this. This is just one of the different colors that you can get. You can get these looms at local craft stores like Joann's, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, places like that, or you can find them online. And I'll hopefully put a link either in this video or in the box below that you can find your own loom. So looms can look like this blue one, or they can come in sets of 4. And we use the smallest one. It's 5.5 inches in diameter, if that helps you figure out which one you need to use. Lastly, this is also one that you're gonna be able to find. This is made by Boy, and it's become pretty popular, and this is the one we're gonna be using today. So in each box, it's gonna come with a loom, and some of the materials you're going to need. It also comes with a little bit of instructions to help you along if you don't quite get this video. So with the loom, you're also going to get a hook and a little plastic needle, which you're going to use at the end of the project, and this hook you're going to be using throughout the project. There's a little plastic thing, you'll want to take that off. It'll make it a little bit easier for you. So these are the materials you use. And now I'll talk a little bit about the yarn that you'll be using. A few different types that you can find. This is more of a thicker yarn that you can use just one strand of when you're making your hat. This is something like baby clouds or even homespun yarns. It's a bit thicker, and so you can only use one strand for that. So that's a wonderful one to use. Also, you can use simple yarns like this. This is just Red Heart yarn. It's 4-ply. You'll find it just about everywhere, and it comes in many different colors, many different softnesses. And really for these baby hats, you're going to want to use the softest you can find, of course, and really no wool. Of course, check with your local hospital if you have questions and if they have requirements, but what I've found is no wool. Anyways, for these 4-ply, you're going to use 2 strands together, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So these are the materials you're going to use, and we'll get started in just a second. Okay, so we're going to start making this hat, and once again we have our loom, our hook, and then we're going to use this needle in a little bit, so I'm just going to put this aside. So I'm going to show you how to do a hat with 2 different strings today. These are thinner strings, so we're going to use them together like one string, and I have a white and a red right here. And the first step you're going to do is you're going to make a loose loop, kind of like a slip knot in your yarn, and you're going to put it over this outside funky peg right there. You're going to pull it tight. And this is just an anchor so that your hat doesn't slip off. And your first step is going to be wrapping all of these pegs. Now there's really 3 steps to making these hats. You're going to wrap the pegs, you're going to pull the bottom over the top since you're going to have 2 strands on each peg, and then you're going to push them all down. So really 3 simple steps that you're going to be doing over and over and over. So first of all, we're going to wrap the pegs. So it's really key to go under and then over. That's really the very simple way to do this, but if you mess it up, it could be really troublesome. If you go over and then under, you're really ending up with 2 on each, and then when you try to pull them over, it's going to be very tough. So just remember, under and then over, under, then over. Now I right now am going clockwise, and that's how I learned. It is very easy for me as a right-handed person, But if you want to go counterclockwise, it will end up exactly the same. So you could be going this way instead. Still going under and over, but you could be going counterclockwise. Okay? Today I'm going to be showing you just the clockwise motion because that's what I learned, and it's just easiest for me to show. So I'm just going to continue doing under and over, just like that, under and over, under and over. Now I'm going to try to keep this yarn closer to the base of the loom. You'll see why in just a minute why this is necessary, but I'm just going to keep it to the base. Just keep going under and over, just throughout all of the pegs, okay? We're going to keep going around, and soon we're going to get back to the front. And this will be our first layer of yarn on the loom. Okay, so now I'm back in front, and you can see that every peg is wrapped under and over. And now for this first part, we are going to be wrapping them a second time. So I'm going to put this strand a little bit higher on the peg, closer to the top, so that you can see the difference between the two. Just doing the under and over again and again on these pegs. And now you can see that I'm making 2 on each peg. All right, once you've gotten all the way back around, now comes in your little hook, okay? And I just wrap this around the outside peg just to hold it for right now. We will take it off when we do another layer. I'm just going to hold it with my left hand just to anchor it so I don't lose anything over here, because then you just have to redo your work. But what you're going to be doing is taking this bottom, okay? All of these bottoms are going to go up and over the top and off. And your first row is going to be your hardest. It really is. There's not as much pull, and so sometimes I kind of mess with them until I can get one over. And then I go back and do the rest. All right? So let me show you a little bit slower how to do this. You're going to be taking this bottom one, pulling it all the way up and off. So now there's only one strand of yarn on each peg. So take the bottom one, lift it up and all the way off. Up and off. You're going to continue doing this all the way around the hat so that there is only one strand left on each peg. So keep going up and off. All the way around. So that's really the second step. So the first step was wrapping each peg. The second step was lifting these up and off. And now the third step, you're not going to use your hook for this. You're just going to be putting your thumbs down inside the middle. This is probably the easiest way. There's many different ways, but you're just going to be pushing this strand of yarn to the bottom of the loom. And really what you're doing is getting ready for that second line of yarn again, because as you can see, this looks like what we just first did. So I got all those to the bottom, and now I'm taking this working yarn off. So then now it's attached only to the hat that we're making and not this outside peg. We're going to do the same motion under and over on each of these pegs, once again at the top, so that we now have our 2 lines of yarn again. So this is looking very similar. We're going back to our first step of wrapping all the pegs, just doing under and over on each of these to make a second line of yarn on the loom. I'm going to go a little bit quicker. If you need a little refresher on how to do this, just rewind the video and go back. Sometimes it takes a little bit to get a hang of it, so no worries there. So once again, I've gone all the way around, 2 lines on each peg, and we're going to put this around. All right, once again, now this is our second step. We're going to take the bottom, bring it over the top, bottom over the top, and just continue that all the way around. And now it's a little bit easier to get that bottom line over the top because there's a little bit of pull in the yarn now. So we're going to continue doing this all the way around, And I just want to inform you, normally when you're beginning to make a hat, it takes about maybe 45 minutes to an hour, but you will get faster, much faster. And normally it takes only about a half an hour to make these hats, which is really great if you're wanting to watch, a television show or a movie and just make a hat during that. So once again, that was the second step. I'm going to take this off, and now you're going to push down all of these pegs again. So what you're doing is making all of these loops within, and you're making the hat, which will start coming out down here, okay? That's where you're going to see it coming out. You're going to keep doing those 3 steps over and over and over again as you come down. And now our next step that I'm going to show you after we've done a few more lines is taking this outside peg off once it becomes a little bit of a hindrance. So that's our next step. So let me show you that. So after you've done a few more lines, you're going to see it coming out. This is after maybe 9 or 10 lines or so. And you're going to see that your outside peg is starting to pull on this, which becomes kind of annoying. So all you're going to do, it's really simple, is take your hook or your fingernails, whatever, and you're going to take this out and loosen it. Just get it so that you can get it off and undo that loop. And so now it's on the inside, and you can just pull this string that you find right out, okay? Now it's off, and all you need to do left, and you can do this now or at the end of the hat, you're going to make a loose loop and then tie it as close as you can to the hat, all right? And I just do 1 knot there, that's all you really need. And you're just gonna take a pair of scissors, and you can clip it off. And the hat normally does a little bit of rolling, and so it will just hide itself right in there, and you won't really notice it. And so after you've done that, you just continue along, just doing your under and over all along, and doing your steps over and over again. All right, so you're going to continue doing the hat, and it'll get longer and longer. And so after a while, you'll realize that you need to finish your hat, and so that's our next step. Okay, so this is after you've done quite a few more rows. People always ask how many rows we should make, and it really depends on the thickness of the yarn. And so maybe between 25 and 30. I've really not counted, but that's what I've heard. The other way that you can measure, eyeballing it of course, you can kind of see how if you drew that in, it would look like a pretty good hat. The other way is you can use your fist and put it up underneath here with your knuckles just about the where the bottom of the loom is, and if it comes back down to your wrist, that's a pretty good length. Lastly, you can also use your hook and put it up in there and measure if it comes to there, and it does. And that's just about what you need for one of these hats. All right, so you're done with this actually, and what you're going to be doing, you have 1 line on your loom right now, and you're going to be cutting off about 1 foot to 1.5 feet. So we're just going to snip off, let's say 1.5 feet. All right. So now it's off, and we're actually done with this tool, and we're going to be using our plastic needle, which you can find, again, if you lose these things, you can find it at your local craft store. Sometimes they're a little bit hard to put in, but you put your yarn through the needle, and you don't have to tie it off, just hold on to it like that. And what you're going to be doing is you're basically making a draw bag. So you're going to be putting this string through each of these loops on your loom. So you're going to be going underneath here, taking it off, and pulling it through, just like that, okay? Putting it through, taking it off, pulling it, okay? Just like that. All right, you're going to be doing this all the way around the hat, and what you're doing is, like I said, stringing this yarn through each of those loops, so it's going to be looking like that. And so you're not going to have any more yarn on these pegs. You can continue all the way around the hat. So putting it in, taking it off, and pulling it through. And you're going to continue all the way around. And sometimes your working yarn gets stuck on these pegs, and just take it off and keep going. Just like that. All right. All the way around the hat. And you can kind of see your hat taking shape right now. All right, just a few more here. And then we're going to be pulling it tight, doing a few stitches on the top of the hat using this plastic needle, and we'll really be done. It's just as simple as that. All right, so we're coming to this last one. I'm going to do the same thing. Just take it in and pull it through. And now your hat is completely off the loom and you're done with this loom. So now you have this nice big gaping hole in the top of your hat, and you need to pull it tight, pull this yarn tight and close it. So you can now pull on this yarn, and this yarn is pretty durable. It's just some of the 4-ply yarn. So you can pull pretty tight. Sometimes you have to wiggle it to get it past this little knot that's right here. You're gonna wiggle the loops and try to get them past. And sometimes, this is pretty durable yarn, but sometimes you have yarn that breaks if you pull too hard, so be careful. If it does break, don't worry, you can fix it. Sometimes, like if it broke, right about here, if I pull too tight, just simply, relax, find your yarn. If you lost it through a couple of these loops, make sure you loop it back through, but you're just gonna make sure you get as much pull as you can, and then you would attach more yarn onto it and keep going. So really you can overcome that obstacle if it comes your way. So don't worry if that happens. It's happened to me many times. So now you've closed that hole in the top and it looks pretty good. But I'm gonna do a couple more stitches just to make sure it's secure. So I go in one side and out the other, about, close to 1 inch or so across, and kind of pull it through, but not all the way. You're going to put your needle back through this loop and pull down so that you kind of have a little bit of a knot. So just pull it tight and go through in one side and out the other. And I like to do 2. It's a pretty, once you do that, it's pretty secure. So after you've done a couple of those, just to make it look pretty when you're finishing it off, you're going to put your needle through the top of the hat, straight down in. And if it's secure, it's going to be kind of hard to put it through, which is a good thing. So you're going to put it all the way through, and then you're going to flip your hat inside out and pull it all the way through. And you can see I'm kind of struggling, and that's not a bad thing. So once you get it through, you're going to pull it all the way through until there's nothing left. You're going to pull your needle off, and you're done with that. All that's left to do is do a couple knots in the top of this hat. And so just do your loose knot again and pull it tight, and do one more and pull it tight. And then you're going to take your scissors, you're going to cut that off, and you're going to turn it the right way out, and you have just successfully finished your hat. That's what it looks like once it's done. So next I'm going to show you if you want to add some fun things like a pom-pom, or if you want to add a brim earlier in the steps. I'll show you how to do that. So just keep watching if you want to do that, but really what you've done right now is finish the hat once you're at this point. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to make a pom-pom for the hat that we just made. Just something fun and extra. It's not necessary, but it's always fun. So I have my 2 strands of yarn right here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take 3 fingers and I'm going to wrap this yarn around my fingers, okay? And you're just going to wrap maybe 20 or 25 times. So something like that. And it really depends on the thickness of your yarn, but that looks pretty good. It'll make a pretty thick pom-pom. You're going to take your scissors and you're just going to cut it off, right kind of where the top would be or something like that, so it's kind of in line. So you have that, and you're gonna just carefully take it off your finger so it doesn't lose too much of its shape. Just hold that for a second right there. You're going to take this same yarn and cut off just a little strand of it so that you can use it to tie around your pom-pom. So maybe just about that much. Not too much, but just enough. So I'm going to use that strand and place your loops of yarn right in the middle. And take your 2 strands, put it up, and tie a knot. And you're just going to try to be as right in the middle as you can, but also be as tight as you can, because this is all that's going to be holding those teeny strips of yarn together once you've cut the loops. So you're going to just kind of take and get it as tight as you can, and then do another knot. And that'll hopefully keep it as secure as you can. So now once you're in that spot, you're going to be taking your scissors again, and you're going to be cutting each one of these loops. So I just try to go into the loops and cut them, just like that. Put them all the way across, and you'll miss some, and you can just go back and find them and cut them. Now the pom-pom making is probably the messiest part of making a hat, but it's always fun. So just keep cutting those little loops all the way around. And try to get as many, but even if you miss one, you can always cut it later. So I've got most of the loops, so there's a few more. Alright, so that's pretty good. That's pretty close. Alright, so you're going to take your original strings, and I like to trim it before I put it on the hat. I don't know why, but that's what I do. So I take the strings, kind of hold the pom-pom in my hand just like this, so I can kind of see what it would look like on the hat. You can see it's really out of shape. So we're just going to cut it a little bit, and normally I do this over a trash can or something, but we'll use this for today. And you're just going to cut it so that everything is pretty even. Sometimes you can make it a little bit crazier and have things sticking out where you want, but normally we just like to cut it into a good shape. And cut these top ones a little bit, make it more even. And even once you put it on the hat, if you see one that's sticking out too far, you can always go back and cut it. Alright, so that's pretty good. Alright, your next step is going to take the hat that you just made and put this away, and you're going to be using the needle again. What I find easiest is taking each one of these the 2 long strands. You're going to be putting it on your needle. Just slide it through there, just like we did before. And they're a little bit shorter now, so, shorter end there. And you're going to be putting it on the top of the hat, just on one side of the top. I'm going to use this hand to go underneath, pull it all the way through, and inside of here, I'm just kind of pulling it and pulling it off. So now we have that strand in there. Then you're going to be using this second strand and doing the exact same thing, just kind of on the opposite side before you put the other one. So it's being a little bit tough, but I'm going to get it on here. Alright, do the same exact thing. Find where you put it. Make sure you don't let the other side slip off while you do this, and just put it through there. Alright, and you're going to be going inside there again, and here's my other strand, and here comes my other one. So all I do now is you're not going to be using the needle anymore, and you're just going to be tying the hat using the 2 together. Just do it a couple times and it'll be secure. Alright, and then you're going to be using your scissors one more time and cutting that off, both of those strands off. Alright, and now you put on a little pom-pom. Very cute addition, not necessary, but always cute. So you can do that. Alright, next I'm going to be showing you how to make a brim, which is always fun to do. So this is, a hat that I started a little while ago, and you have about 2.5 inches, 3 inches, something like that have come out. You've already taken off the outside peg, and if you want to make a brim, you can do so. What we're going to be doing is, what you've done on the hat is making these lines on the outside. If you can kind of see those lines, and they're all connected. But what you'll be doing, what makes this easier, is if you can take a peg like this one and follow it down. So that peg goes to this line. Follow it down with your finger inside of here. Follow it down. And then find the loop that goes to it. It might be on either side, but just find the loop that goes to it. And it'll be the last one. So it's basically your first line of thread that you put on there. And you're going to take that loop and put it over. So basically what you're doing is making that second line again. So once you do that, you'll be doing that all the way around. So you're going to keep putting that up and over, and you're just continually finding that next one. All right. Find that next one, and it takes a little bit of time. And brims in general take a little bit more time, but they are also very cute for the hats. So if you can find each of those lines, and hopefully you don't miss one. If you do, it's okay. You'll make it up, and you can always find an extra loop and put it over. It's not a big deal. So just keep finding those next loops, and all you're doing is putting the bottom, pulling it in and up, so that you kind of start anew. So you're putting that over, and you're making that second line. It up and over. All right. Oh, and see, this is sometimes a common mistake. If this gets stuck in here and you put it over, then you'll have to undo all of these and catch it. So make sure that it comes to the right side, okay? So just keep putting those up and over. All right, so we're close to being done. So hopefully I've found all of them. And there's this one. And make sure this is over here. And there's this last one. Okay, so now each of those pegs has a second strand from the bottom of your hat that you made. All right, now you're going to take your hook, and just like if we had looped on all of those, we're going to take this bottom one, take it up and over. All right, take it up and over. And this sometimes can actually be a hard line just because there's not as much pull as you think there's going to be. So let's see if I can get this one over. Here you go. Just keep going up and over, just like you've done the entire time. This is going to make a lovely brim. So once you've done this all the way over, just keep going up and over. All right, so I'm almost back to the beginning. And then I'll show you how to continue, which is just like what you've done. So now you're done, okay, and all you have left is one strand, so you're going to push it down just like the third step. Push it down all the way around, and now you have your brim. And you're just going to continue along just like you were doing. Just continue your under and over method so that you have a second string. And you're going to pull this up and over, just like you've done before. Now on the same hat, I'm going to show you how to change colors. So like, let's say if you wanted to take this green strand and exchange it with this blue. Okay, so you're going to take this green one that you cut off and exchange it with this blue one, and all you're going to be doing is making a knot in the two. You're going to do just a simple knot, attaching them together. So I do one knot to make it secure, but then I do another one just to make sure that it doesn't come undone when I'm making the hat. So just make it sure that it's really tight. And you're going to be taking those two ends and cutting them off. And now you have changed the color that you're making. So now when you go around, you're going to have a stripe of blue in there. And if you want to go back to green or finish the hat with this blue in there, you've just now changed colors. And I'm just going to go around once and show you something that is a common mistake that happens that I have seen. So once you've gone around and you have your 2 strands, people go around, but they let go of this. But without realizing it, they've let it go. And they're going around, and this starts slipping off like that, which can happen. It's happened to me before. But they keep going around, just going up and over. And they get to this last one. They do this one. And, well, now they're done. Now they don't have any more, so they say, okay, well, I'm going to push them down. Push them all down, like the 3rd step. But now, this is attached in the wrong place. Well, if you didn't realize, it would look very funny and you wouldn't know what you had done. So all you need to do, if your strand comes where you don't think it should, because it should be starting from over here, all you're going to do is just add those extra loops, put it around here, hold it tight, and finish up that row. And that's all you've done if you get to that mistake. And you just push them down and you continue on your way. And so if something like that happens, you can easily fix it. And other mistakes happen and have happened to me, and there's pretty easy solutions. This craft is very forgiving, so don't worry about making mistakes. You can normally fix them pretty easily. So I've showed you how to make a hat, how to make a brim, and how to make a pom-pom, how to change colors, lots of different things that you can do to make these hats for preemies. Well, that's all we have, and thank you for watching.